Welcome, beautiful friends, to the Way of Mastery. We are going to begin our deepening of lesson number 8, dropping pebbles into the pool of awareness. We channeled this lesson last week from Jeshua. So how's a week of tossing different pebbles gone? I talked to a couple folks today, and they were more acutely aware of the pebbles they had been tossing, hadn't really made the shift to tossing new pebbles, but they were at least conscious, oh my gosh, I've been tossing a bunch of pebbles in my pond I don't really want anymore. Well, isn't that the first step to changing your mind? That's really waking up. What we were doing unconsciously comes up into our awareness. Oh, now I really do have a choice. So becoming conscious is the first step to you becoming awake and making a new choice. That's why the ego gets so pissed off once you know, because it doesn't want you to change your mind. So recognize that that's all a very natural thing. Oftentimes when spiritual truth comes and we have some clarity, the first thing we see is the resistance because we find ourselves not in alignment with that truth that has been revealed. So big deal. I say again, big deal. Exercise the power of your choice to switch. So we're going to begin by deepening this lesson tonight. But somebody asked me, what's this whole pathway about? And at the end of the movie the other night, I read, and Jeshua makes in this, in the Way of Mastery, he makes a promise to us. And he says, I promise you this. And I'm going to ask Cindy if you would. Do you mind?
That's fine. I promise you this. If you become wholly committed to awakening from the dream you have dreamt since the stars first began to appear in the heavens, and if your one desire is to be only what God created, then lay at the altar of your heart with every breath everything you think you know, everything you think you need, and look lovingly upon every place that fear has made a home in your mind, and allow correction to come. It will come. Regardless of how you experience it, it will come. And the day and the moment will arise when all of your pain and fear and suffering will have vanished like a wind that pushes the foam of the wave away, revealing the clarity of the ocean beneath you. You will literally feel throughout your being that there never was a dream. Some memories might remain with you, and you will know that somewhere you must have dreamt a dream, or had a thought of wondering what it would be like to be other than the way God created you. But it will be such a faint echo that it will leave no trace upon you. In your heart, you will smile gently, regardless of the circumstances in which you find yourself. There will be peace from the crown of the head to the tips of the toes, and that peace will walk before you wherever you go. It will enter a room before you enter it with a body, and those who becoming sensitive will wonder who has come into their place, and some will even say, Behold, I believe Christ has come for dinner. You will be that one, for that is who you are, Christ eternal.
Thank you, Cindy. So in the Course in Miracles, he asked us for a little bit of willingness. And we usually offer that willingness because we want our life in the world to simply be better. So we offer a little bit of willingness, but his promise is if you become wholly committed, that doesn't mean you have to quit your job. It doesn't mean you have to leave your relationships. But it does mean that within you, you have to make a commitment to be wholly committed. That's where the word holy, H-O-L-Y, comes from, is when we are wholly committed. And he goes on to say, then lay at the altar of your heart with every breath everything you think you know. Not just the negative things, not just your bad memories, everything you think you know. Everything you think you need. Everything you think you need. And look lovingly upon every place that fear has made a home in your mind. He's simply asking us to remove judgment. By the way, we had to have the energy of judgment to pull off the whole separation. We had to believe we were in need. We had to believe things that were different than what other people believed. Those were prerequisites to sleeping. So he's simply asking that you surrender those and not continue. And then he goes on to say, and allow a correction to come. Allow correction to come. It doesn't say fix yourself. It doesn't say turn your spiritual path into one more self-improvement program. Allow correction to come, and it will come. It comes as a result of you being wholly committed, and you no longer holding on to your beliefs, no longer holding on to the things you think you need, and allowing. And he says, we'll get to it in a minute, allowance is the greatest key to the kingdom. So that's his promise, and I sit before you to say that he kept this promise with me. I did exactly what he asked here, and it was done for me, and now it's done through me. Are you prepared to make this? Because we really can't accept the promise until we're wholly committed. While we want to maintain our separate authority in the world and have the world the way we want it to be, and I'm not saying the world gets worse for you, by the way. It gets a lot better than you could ever imagine. But we're really not wholly committed. So anyway, Cindy, thank you for sharing it. If you're interested in watching this later or online, if you go to the One Who Wakes website, in the Read section, there's a little banner for Yeshua's promise, and you can download it for yourself. Are you ready for the pathway axioms? Wow, that's really foggy. Can anybody read that? It looks like that's the best it's going to get.
I am created as my Father created me to be. I am free, and nothing sources my experience but me in each moment. Nothing has an effect on me whatsoever, save that which I choose to allow to affect me. I need do nothing. I do not live any ordinary moments. With each breath, my experiences are the stepping stones laid before me of God to guide me home. Therefore, I will bring awareness to each moment and allow it to teach me how to forgive, how to embrace, how to love, and therefore, how to live fully. The only relationship which holds any value at all is your relationship with God, your creative source. And the keys to the kingdom: desire, intention, allowance, and surrender. And the definition of love: love allows all things, accepts all things, trusts all things, embraces all things, and is therefore transcendent of all things.
Thank you, Cindy. So in number 1 tonight, I'm going to pull out, I am free. Now. He doesn't say you will be free. He doesn't say you were free a long time ago and now you're not. I am free. A present tense thing. Look in your consciousness at all the energy of I'm on my way home to freedom. I'm waking up sometime in the future. When XYZ happens, when my relationships gets worked out, when my debts, whatever conditions you're putting on your freedom, and you're saying it will come in the future, or you had it in the past and some situation changed and now you've lost it, you're using your present freedom to create your present prison. Be very clear about that. We have always been free. We have always been creating from our freedom. But if we're creating anything less than our freedom and living at anything less than I am free in this moment, and I am sourcing my experience, and I have the power to choose, do I like this, do I want to play with this energy or not? We're using our freedom to create our prison, and that's the cosmic joke. We've been playing it on ourselves the whole time. So if you've got stuff in your mind and consciousness that when I wake up sometime in the future, you're just playing the trick on yourself. Because you can play that trick for a long time. And he says in the Way of Mastery, it is well to seek. But at some point you have to give up the energy of seeking and have found. Not be found, but have found. that the kingdom of heaven, your freedom, your ability to create was present the whole time. Number 2 tonight, I need do nothing. The whole pathway completely transforms what I means to you. If you look at yourself now and look back 10 years ago, what I means to you now is very, very different probably than it was 10 years ago. I mean, 10 years ago, if you weren't on a spiritual path, you were probably certain that you were the body and that was the extent of it. Well, now there's a robust understanding. I am something greater than this body. My life is eternal and goes on. Well, there's extraordinary healing just in that. But one of the things, the most important things to lay at the altar of these, like he said in the thing, all my beliefs is the belief in what I am. That's the biggest one to lay down. You can lay down, I lay down my beliefs about race. I lay down my beliefs about politics. I lay down all that stuff. When you're willing to lay down your belief about yourself, what I means to you, you're really being wholly committed, and healing and transformation can come. Number 3 tonight. What will we do tonight? I'm not going to do number 3 tonight. I'm going to go to number 4. Holds. The only relationship which holds any value. Holds. We've been held by God, by heaven, all of our eternal experience. Even though we thought we were apart, even though we thought we weren't awake, even though we thought we weren't free, consciousness, the I am of us, was holding us the whole time. You won't wake up to something new. You'll wake up to the most basic fundamental thing that has been with you the whole time, that you simply didn't recognize because you were too busy chasing everything that we put after I am. It's quite remarkable that we're able to hide the truth of our identity seemingly so well that we run around on the spiritual buffet trying to find ourselves. So holding is an important thing, just to recognize that, and Rosie and I were talking about this, Yeshua's words on the cross have been printed in the Bible as, Father, why hast thou forsaken me? And he made it very clear. I've heard it in channeling, and he's told me many times, and he extended this truth through me, that his quote was, Father, you have never forsaken me. You have never forsaken me. The people who heard it, it made no sense to them, and they were so shocked, they thought, he must have been delirious. He certainly meant not, because the Father wouldn't allow what was seeming to be happening. So you have never, ever, ever been anything but held. And when you wake up, there'll be such gratitude that you were held all the while you were creating your deception, while you were playing innocently enough with the energies of separation. It's just absolutely beautiful. The keys to the kingdom: desire, intention, allowance. If you're in this room, please know that the desire to awaken is already checked off on your cosmic soul list. Don't let the mind get you all the way back to desire to start working. Your intention is to release everything within your consciousness that prohibits the awareness that what the truth is now. Allowance, intention is what he's asking. When you're wholly committed, when you intend that and nothing else, when you don't intend that spirituality and your awakening is supposed to make you rich, or supposed to make you all kinds of other things, when you give your holiness to it, then you allow. You allow it to be corrected. You're not the corrector of it, but it's not corrected until you allow it. It's like this: if we're holding a belief in our hand, that's not correctable. The Spirit doesn't pry your fingers open. It waits until you go, I'm ready. And when you release, when you open, the Spirit says, great. We'll take that crazy, insane belief away. We'll release those energies. So being wholly willing is our intention to always be open and not grip. And the allowance is then just let it go. And then at that point, you're going to surrender into God's will because, duh, it's the only thing there really is. You'll see that our own separate wills was a crazy, crazy idea that had no reality to it whatsoever. So this love allows all things, accepts, trusts, embraces all things, and is therefore transcendent. That love, God, that was extended to you is present in your being right now and has allowed everything you've ever done. Has trusted everything you've ever done. Has effortlessly embraced everything you've ever done. And remains within your being transcendent, simply waiting on its welcome or waiting on the recognition. It will not come from anywhere else. That's why Jeshua said, look within. That's where it is. So that love is present within you now. Has to be. Or we would have actually pulled off the separation. That's cool. We're not even into the lesson yet. The Lord's Prayer. If you haven't heard this before, this is Jeshua channeling the Lord's Prayer through the channel of this pathway, JM. And it's just beautiful. And then we'll have a second version that's sung by our good friend of ours, Jen Stackpole.
Awun, the Washmaya, Ni te Kadash Shamach, Te te Malkuda, Neve Asivinach, Akina the Washmaya O Baraha, Haulan Lachman, Sunkanan Yalmana, Washwoklan Halpin, Akina Daphanan, Shwakin Il Hayabin. Ula talan el nisyan, el pasan membisha. But had lachim el kuda, uhaila, utish bhakta. La alam, amin, amen.
Abunde boshmaya, Nita kedash shama, Tete makuta, Nwere savianek, Kanada boshmaya of Baraha. How long lachmad sunkan in yamana, Washwoklan habein, Aikana dafbanan, Shwaken el hayabein, Ulatalan, Desiona ela person min bisha. Metal de la kimakuta, uhaila, utishbokta, la alam, amin, amen.
I got a pink nose. My friend Rosie Marie wears pink all the time, and this is an honor of the divine feminine. Yeshua's made it very clear that humanity's awaken depends on the divine feminine coming into its fullness. And it is the women, the divine feminine coming into its fullness, that will actually retroactively go back and embrace and heal the masculine of all its misdeeds over the last 2,000 years. So this is in honor of the divine feminine and my beautiful friend Rosie Maria. So like what I have to say tonight or don't like, it's completely up to you. You're creating your own experience. If you think I'm nuts, that's great. Throw it out. You're welcome to get up and go. You're blessed when you come. You're blessed when you go. It's all right. But follow your own inner guidance. Please don't take what I have to say that I will share from the deepening of this with Jeshua, my own experience. If it doesn't ring true for you, throw it aside. There may be a time later when it comes back and all of a sudden it makes sense. But just don't be in conflict with it. Just allow it to be. Go ahead, honey.
Now, we begin. As always, once again, greetings unto you, beloved and holy friends. As always, I come forth as your equal, to abide with you, to walk with you, to communicate with you, from that mind and that heart which we eternally share as one, that mind which is alone the reality of our shared sonship, our shared experience. As always, I come forth in joy, and also with humility, for I cannot join with anyone unless they provide the space within their consciousness and bid me enter therein. Therefore understand well that when I come to abide with you, I come with a humility born of the recognition of the great mystery that has given you your existence. And that mystery I have called Abba, Father. And why? You have not come forth from some mechanical, unthinking force. You have come forth from pure intelligence. You have come forth from pure love. You have come forth from a source beyond all comprehension. You have come forth from the radiance of a light so bright that the world cannot see it nor contain it. You have come forth from that which alone is eternally real, and because you have come forth from it, you are one with it always.
You know, the way he starts off each of these letters are really simply a love letter to us. This is the 8th lesson, and in 6 of them, he has said, I come forth as your equal. If you look within your consciousness, that's probably not a thought that's entertained with a lot of reality, that Jeshua and I are absolute equals. That'd be a cool pebble to throw in your pond pretty frequently, wouldn't it? And he comes forth with humility. But he can't come forth to abide with us unless we bid him welcome, because he has no power over us. It's a shame Christianity has made him to be the one with all the power and us not. That was all a misperception. If you're in this room, again, you've made welcome. You may not commune with him consciously very often, but I can assure you, he has come for dinner in your consciousness and he stayed, because that's his promise to us. And you're welcome to call God whatever you want. Just call. He called it Father. Many call it Father, Mother. Many call it Source. Call it peace. Call it whatever you want. If you've got a beef about the word Father, drop it. Don't stick with it just to be pissed off about it. Whatever it works for you, naturally use it. You'll find a deeper resonance, whatever you want to call it. The word doesn't matter. Only that you recognize you're reaching to the source of your being. You recognize that you're reaching to something beyond the scope of your little tiny thinking mind that is your source, that loves you and can help you. And it's a mystery, and it's always going to remain a mystery. One of the things you recognize in awakening is you can never know it conceptually. But how many of you are working on awakening, sure that you're going to figure it out at some point? That's just another trap of the ego, that you haven't figured it out. You're never going to figure it out. You come to peace accepting the incomprehensible mystery that is God. Remember he said, I need do nothing? You don't even need know, because in truth you really can't. But you're perfectly capable of being without knowing. Each of us right now are being. And no one in this room is efforting, oh God, I gotta be. We're all simply being. Whatever our level of knowing seems to be, we're all being effortlessly. None of us are having to source our being and work consciously to maintain it. It's right here, right now, and it's being bestowed, given, and maintained to every being on this planet. At some point, that'll be enough for you. It'll be all that you recognize as true, and you'll rest into that and lay down the mind that's efforting, and I got to know, and I got to know more, and I don't know enough yet about the chakras, so I'm not awake until I get this chakra thing right, or I'm not awake until I get whatever right. Those are just traps, traps, traps. Pure intelligence, pure love, and a radiance of light so bright that the world cannot see or maintain it. He's describing you. He's describing the truth of every one of us, that we share as one, and we remain one with it always, which must mean now. So the only thing that separates us is our crazy thinking mind, which says I'm not one with the Father, I'm not one with the Mother, I'm not one with the source of creation. And we believe it. We disturb our very peaceful, effortless being to move up into our mind and run off and create all kinds of illusionary worlds.
This means that you abide in a relationship, created to creator, offspring or child to parent, that is so intimate, a bond so deep that it cannot be broken at any time. As a wave that arises from an ocean cannot be separated from the ocean itself, so too, in each and every moment in your experience, do you abide in a union so powerful, so mysterious, so intimate and immediate that the mind cannot comprehend it. This union then connects you, as the created, with the mystery beyond comprehension that contains every drop of wisdom and intelligence necessary to create consciousness itself. And consciousness, awareness, the power to be aware, the power to choose, that is what you truly are. If this source, this mystery, can birth this most fundamental aspect of creation, does it not deserve to be called Abba or Father? That which creates like unto itself. Can you then begin to feel, to know, not just as an intellectual idea, but as a lived reality, a knowingness, that if you are aware in this moment, it is because you are one with the source of all creation and cannot be separated from it in any way or at any time.
A bond so deep it can't be broken at any time. So, because your mind has told you it's broken, doesn't make it so. Your mind tells you all kinds of things all day long that aren't so. Does it not? I wonder why we run around chasing that thing. I mean, the mind's like a dog chasing its own tail, isn't it? It goes round and round and round and round. And the mind's unwilling to let go that it can't comprehend it. I've known Course in Miracles students that have studied that text. They could almost recite the whole Course in Miracles because they're seeking the intellectual understanding. And awakening doesn't come because we intellectually understand it. It's because we surrender trying to intellectually understand it. We surrender all our concepts and ideas. By the way, have you ever noticed concepts begin with the con? And your beliefs lie. The clues are even in the stinking words. It's so funny. But we fall for it. I mean, I fell for it. We all fall for it. It's no big deal that you fell for it, but you don't have to continue. So in consciousness, awareness, the power to be aware and choose. He'll say later in this pathway that the kingdom of heaven is your ability to choose. And that goes back to the very first axiom. I and I alone are sourcing my experience. Nothing affects me save that which I choose to allow to affect me. So nothing can affect us. We have absolute sovereignty over the state of our being. absolute sovereignty over the state of our being, and that is the kingdom of heaven. It's given so freely that we're welcome to create hell within it. I did. I created all kind of hell, shame, guilt, conflict. I mean, you name it. We're all experts at it. But that never changes. And you experience all of creation through awareness. You see a tree, you're able to see it because awareness is present in order to discern it. You might call it a tree, you might say it's separate from you, but all that happens long after pure awareness. That happens in thought. Everything that you experience happens within the field of awareness. And even when you sleep, you wake up and go, I slept. I'm aware that I slept. Awareness is even present in your sleep because it's the presence of the Creator and it never leaves. It's given freely. And within that field of awareness, we are free to create whatever we choose. And every one of us are living a life full of our own creations. And every one of those is absolutely okay. Everyone is accepted, everyone is allowed. But when you've had enough of creating separateness, you're welcome to come rest in the awareness that's purely given to you absolutely freely. Because none of you are creating consciousness or awareness. We're just filling it up with a bunch of filler, a bunch of distraction. So it doesn't have to be hard and it doesn't need to take long because it's true and it's effortless. That's why they didn't have to be hard or take long. And this is not just an intellectual idea. It's especially prevalent within Course in Miracles students and a lot in Ayurveda, that someone will get the idea of non-duality and be certain they have it. And that's okay. I played that game a little bit too. And gladly Jeshua showed up to show me some greater wisdom. But it's a lived experience. And it's not lived because you now have new concepts which you try to behave within. It's lived because that's what you are, not what you're doing or not doing. It's a really important distinction because it will be lived of its own. It's kind of like, I hear all the time, oh, I knew that. I know that, I know that, or I intellectually know that. That's not knowing. Knowing is like the sun coming up tomorrow. None of you sit around having to profess that you know it because you've doubted it. Knowing it is living it without ever having to think about it. That's knowing it.
Fear, and we have spoken of this many times, is like a contraction. And again, if you were to imagine a wave arising from the ocean and then going into contraction because it thinks it is separated from its source, that contraction literally squeezes the life, the very flowing waters, out of that wave. And could that wave possibly continue when its very life force has been squeezed from it? Does it not then become mere drops of water fading from view, only to dissolve back into the ocean itself, and its radiance has been lost, never to be seen again? If it were possible for the wave of your consciousness to truly have its life force squeezed out of it, you too would fade away as droplets returning to the ocean, never to be remembered, to never be seen again. But listen, and listen well. That would be death. But in reality, you are alive always. And even when you have identified yourself with the great constriction that fear is, your fears have never been able to squeeze out of you the great life force, the great reality, the great gift of awareness. You have therefore never ceased to be. There has never been a time that you have not existed, and there will never be a time when you cease to be.
Awareness pre-exists everything. When you have a thought arise in your consciousness, awareness has to be present to see it come and watch it go, and then see it disappear, and then watch the next one. We see the first thought and go, oh, there goes an ego thought. And then we believe the next one that says, ooh, there goes an ego thought. And we move out of this state of pure awareness, which, by the way, is a loving, allowing, trusting, embracing effortlessly, and we become identified with the thoughts and mistake ourselves to be the thinker, rather than a field of pure awareness which is always present. Omnipresent, by the way. It's not just present in your consciousness, it's present as the ground of all consciousness. So that's why witnessing your thoughts in spirituality is such a big deal. Let them pass like, I think the Buddhists say, like leaves on a lake, like clouds in the sky. I mean, there's all kinds of symbols about that, because it's trying to get you to back up into this state of pure awareness, and at some point it'll probably dawn on you, the awareness is never disturbed. It's always present, effortlessly. The thoughts are where all the disturbance is. The waves that seem to come and go is where all the disturbance is, but the awareness, the ocean, it's ever present. There couldn't even be waves. There can't even be thoughts if awareness isn't present. And it's effortlessly present. You're free to abide as that, because that truly is all you are. And it might sound kind of boring. I've heard the ego mind go, oh, that's boring. Nothing's happening. You mean just sits there? I'll just be like a log. I won't do anything. Look at your life. You can fill the awareness with whatever you choose. You're not limited to only being awareness, but from awareness, from peace, you're free to create anything you'd like. And in truth, all of us are experiencing the game of separation because we use the freedom to forget, oh, I'm this infinite field of pure awareness, and believe the thought that appeared in the awareness that says, I'm a body. And with that came all kinds of inherent fear. But listen, and listen well. Whenever he repeats himself, he's trying to get our attention. Listen and listen well. That would be death. He's already proved there is no death. 2,000 years later, we're still believing that it's true. We're still believing that death is true. Or that it's even a big deal, like something we should avoid. You live always. Always have, always will. When he said, I am the Alpha and the Omega, I am before Abraham and after time, well, so are you. Always have been, always will be. The whole dream is when we misperceive ourselves as these bodies and the experiences which we seem to be having, rather than recognizing this was just a play. This was just a game to go experience what would it be like to not be eternal. I mean, when you're from your eternalness, it sounds like a pretty cool gig. Wow, we could experience like we would cease to exist? That's nuts. That must be fun. Let's go see what that's like. So there's never been a time you have not existed, and there will never be a time that you will cease to be. And when you can begin to rest into that pure awareness that is what you are, it's called the ground of being, it's called the kingdom of heaven, it's called your Buddha nature, it's called the Tao. I mean, you can call it God, you can call it anything you want, but that can't really define what it is. You'll be at peace. And you'll allow the world to be what it is. You'll allow the thoughts to come and go, because you know they have no effect on you as awareness. All the stuff that each of us have struggled with in our lives and we were certain was going to kill us, we were certain we would be shamed out of existence, we were certain it was going to be so bad, where is it now? We all still sit here being. What if we just removed all of our attention that said it was all a big deal and just let it be? And then began to throw pebbles in the pond of things we wanted to experience.
You are therefore very much like a wave that has begun to arise out of an unseen ocean. As that wave gains its momentum and moves across the surface of a planet, so to speak, You are like a wave that is in continual movement. Moving where? Into a forever extension of your awareness itself. Into a forever extension of whatever you choose to pick up along the way and make part of yourself. Into a forever extension that will carry you into the experience or the fruits of the very thoughts you have held on to as your own. Therefore, understand well, right now, in this very lived moment, wherever you are, whatever you are experiencing, all that you see, all that you feel, all that you know, all that you seek to avoid, all the things you value and devalue, all things are contained within your awareness. For if they are not found there, they do not exist for you.
So when the Buddha awoke, he talked about having been a rock and a flower and a dolphin and many other things. Constant expansion of awareness. How expansive do you think a rock's awareness is? I mean, I don't think there's a lot of discussion about getting together with friends and going to the movies and, lots of stuff like that. I would suspect the flower's got a little bit different state of awareness, more than the rock. Might look upon the rock and go, gosh, I remember what it was like to be a rock. I'm glad I'm not a rock anymore. Many would say that dolphins are actually higher evolved, so maybe we go there and maybe we go, that's our next step rather than humanity. I don't know. We'll see. But that's all we're going to experience throughout all of eternity, is becoming increasingly aware of the infinite nature of God. So when we let go of this incredibly myopic focus that we put on our body-mind and on the world and on politics and on fashion or whatever else we tend to distract ourselves with, your awareness will naturally expand. Not because you're efforting at it, but because its very nature is to expand. And all kinds of stuff can start filling your awareness that you would think, oh, I could never know someone's feeling. I could never know someone's past. I could never know whatever. And you'll have no idea where that stuff comes from. But the point is, that can't happen so long as we've put a box around our being and said, I am this body. And of course, we're not that body. He said earlier, pure intelligence. All wisdom already exists within awareness. So our unawareness of that wisdom is because we've chosen to say, I don't want to know who I am right now. I'm too busy playing small, so if I knew I was all-knowing, that would kind of mess my game up. So it's not about learning, it's about kind of letting go into that. So right now, in this very moment, all that you're experiencing, and in case you haven't noticed, he's not about exceptions in this pathway. Love allows all things, all. Because our mind is really great at making, love allows nice things but not mean things. He's really trying to make the point that you have to be all in with your minds. You can't give it the ability to make little exceptions here, there, and everywhere. But that's what our mind wants to do. All that you see, all that you feel, all that you know, they're all contained within your awareness. Period. And right now, your awareness appears to be full of only what you experienced in this lifetime, which isn't really much against infinity or eternity, is it? But that's not the nature of what your awareness is. That's the nature of the fruits of your awareness being limited by the pebbles that we dropped in, which said, I'm this body and I live in this world and everything's separate. And if I didn't go to school to learn it, I don't know it. And this is what happens with psychics, is they know they don't know, so they open into the field of awareness and they're informed. Edgar Cayce was one of the masters of this. He couldn't know these things about these people because he had never met them. But in our knowing that we don't know and our abandoning the rules that the world has told us, if I don't have a degree in these letters after my name, I certainly couldn't know that. He was informed. It came to extend itself. His awareness expanded to include, and Yeshua's made it clear, all of creation. That there's nothing outside of this one field of awareness that we all share. I don't know about you, but that's a pretty appealing thing. That's a pretty cool thing. Not, oh my gosh, we're going to be judged for everything that we've done. That's not about it at all. So if it's not in your awareness, it doesn't exist for you. Is there anyone here who's a horse lover? Who has horses? So how often do thoughts of horses just randomly come through your consciousness? They don't, do they? Your consciousness is only full of what you are cultivating, what you are choosing to think, the same old records you're playing over and over and over and over and over. And this lesson is about changing those pebbles. If you want to grow new fruit, you have to plant a new tree. But all that we're experiencing is the fruit of the nature of the thoughts that we've been thinking. And sometimes people come to me in kind of a depressed state, and I simply ask, would you be depressed if you didn't think? Could you be depressed without thoughts? No, of course not. So their depression is the fruits of their thinking, all kinds of unworthiness stuff. So the simple solution is stop thinking those stinking thoughts. And then a thought arises which says, oh, I can't. Well, you've cultivated that pebble too. You have to go back to axiom number 1.
Therefore, look upon that which resides within your awareness, within your consciousness. What are the things that you know that you know? What are the things that you would avoid? What are the feelings that you have not explored? What are the objects, the people, the places, the values that you strive for, that seem to thrill even the cells of the body? What is the body itself, if not that which arises within your awareness? Look at the planet around you. Look at every object in your room. Look at every thought you choose to think. Look at all the perceptions and ideas that you defend so vociferously. Look at the thoughts, the feelings of others that make you cringe or wish to withdraw from. These things abide within you like the very power or life force of the wave that has arisen from the ocean. All these things you have picked up along the way, and the way has been very long and varied indeed. For if you can imagine never ceasing to exist, it means that you have been as a wave of awareness, passing through, so it were, every time frame, every planetary system, every dimension of creation.
One of the things he does in this pathway is he tries to obliterate the idea that we were born as like little souls and that we're going to become God in the infinite future, like we're growing, learning, and someday we'll become. That's bullshit. We are all that we were created to be now, and we're using that to create varied experience across all kinds of dimensions. So it's not about getting off the cosmic wheel, it's rather being very conscious about what it is you choose to experience within consciousness, within the infinite field of creation. And we've all chosen this one. I hear from many people, I can't wait to get out of here. Like I can't wait to ascend, like it's going to happen tomorrow. And he makes it very clear that ascension happens when you descend the fullness of your infinite being and abide here as Christ, or you abide here awake. Because what you resist will persist. If you're trying to get out of this world because it's bad, you'll keep coming back until you embrace and love it, because it's your own creation. So again, he's asking us, look at what resides in your awareness. Look at the planet around you. Look at every object in your room. Look at every thought you choose to think. He's not saying judge them. He's not saying defend them. He's not saying justify them. He's not saying make them right or wrong. He's simply saying, look. He's simply asking you to take an inventory. Let me look at everything in my consciousness. Do I want to keep it or not? If you don't want to keep it, just like your house, like this room, which pieces of furniture do you want to keep? Keep them. The ones you don't want, put out on the curb. That's forgiveness. That's letting go. It doesn't have to be any harder than that. You don't have to judge that you liked green furniture 10 years ago and now it's out of style and you'd rather not have it. So you judged 10 years ago. Or you committed what you would say is a sin 10 years ago. Put it on the curb and let it go. Nobody's forcing you to hold in your awareness anything that you don't want to hold in your awareness. I mean, I don't know, has God come to any of you and put a gun to your head and said you have to hold on to all your guilt and shame? No. You're free to forgive it, let it go, release it whenever you choose. So take the inventory. Look with innocence and go, and if you'll do it in this way, if you recognize, if my choice, even though I may be unconscious, was to play the game of separation, I wonder what I would have to fill my awareness with in order to really believe it. You'd have to believe that you're a body and everybody else seems to be a separate body. You'd probably fill it with lots of judgment and fear and condemnation and neediness and lack and scarcity. Well, wouldn't those be great qualities to really pull off the dream? Well, sure. So big deal. Do you want to still play that game? You're free to let them go. You are free to forgive at any moment. You're absolutely sovereign in your own awareness. Whew. So I am, metaphorically, is your awareness. Everything else is an idea or a concept or a belief within your awareness. So just right now, if I said, have in your mind the image of dog shit. Right now, everybody's mind, whether you really want it to or not, is filling up with an image of dog shit. Some of you have actually activated the olfactory thing and are actually having a more robust experience of it. Right? So now, have the experience in your mind of a bouquet of beautiful roses. So having dog shit or things in your consciousness that you didn't want in no way damaged your mind. It in no way damaged the awareness. You were able to simply, effortlessly shift from dog shit to roses. You're welcome to take everything in your consciousness that you think's like dog shit and let it go. And move your awareness to things that you want to put your consciousness on. But the point is, the awareness that you are is never damaged by whatever appears to be in it. It remains as God created it to be, absolutely limitless. And your ability to choose is never limited. Because all of you, whether you're aware of it or not, made a choice to take the dog shit bait and then made the choice for the roses. Even if you're in prison. Nelson Mandela was this great example of being in prison, but yet he exercised the power of his choice of how he was going to experience that. And he used that time to wake himself up to just this power of choice. So you can't ever lose the awareness. You can't ever lose the function of choice. And everything that you experience is because those things are always eternally present. Will you be a conscious creator, awake to that truth? Or will you remain asleep and seem to be a victim to your own creations?
And along the way, one thing has remained constant. You have been in constant relationship with all of creation. Oh yes, You may select out a few people, a few objects, a planet, a dimension, and focus all of your attention. And attention is nothing more than the decision that you are going to use the power of your awareness to focus on. And it seems that you have excluded everything else. What is like an optical delusion of consciousness? And that is like an optical delusion of consciousness. While it is very true that you have selected out aspects of creation to focus your attention on, yet underneath, in the depth of the wave that is unseen by the physical eye, unseen by what you call your conscious awareness, your day-to-day mind, you have remained in perfect communion with all of creation. You are therefore in relationship with all created things, and there is a communication that occurs without ceasing. Imagine being able to look into the air of your planet and to literally see the radio waves, the TV waves, all of the electrical waves that keep, again without ceasing, bouncing back and forth across your planet. This is what you swim in daily. Your consciousness pervades this field of vibrations, and you are the one who selects out what you are going to be aware of, what you are therefore calling into your lived experience. And therefore, you select what is going to make an imprint upon you.
I think that's really cool. That's what's going on. Isn't that a cool thing to know rather than thinking that's not what's going on? Do you see the inherent power of consciousness to create experience? And the ironic thing is we've always been using that power. We decided to use it without knowing that we were using it. What a cool idea. And who knows this excluding everything else? How many people watch a lot of football? I used to do that years ago, or sports. Have you ever noticed how you can tune out all of creation except what you're watching on the TV? You do that with soap operas too. Cindy does it with a show called Modern Family. So, no, we're masters of this. We're masters of consciousness. We're masters of the field of awareness. We do it all day long. We can narrow our consciousness and we can expand it. How many of you eavesdrop in the restaurant and can listen to conversations at the next table or maybe the next one? Somehow, mysteriously, we can seem to amplify one conversation and make the other ones go quiet. Wow, that's a pretty cool trick of awareness and consciousness. We're doing it all the time. We're just doing it within a very small range of experience because we've learned through our body, mind, and through the beliefs that we've held that we can only experience that which is in, what you can see with this, or experience with the senses of the body. You're this infinite field of awareness. The sixth sense, if you will, which is kind of the doorway to being able to experience creation beyond the barriers of the body, is available to us all. The door's always open, except when we wanted to play small, we put a skull and crossbones on it and said, danger, danger, don't go here, so that we would keep playing small. So this is all that's happening. Everyone in here has had some moment of an expanded state of consciousness. Every one of us has. And we go, wow. And then all of a sudden our mind starts talking us out of it. It must have been a dream. It must have just been a vision. That didn't really happen. I didn't all of a sudden experience myself as expansive. So what you can begin to do is consciously let your awareness expand. Right now, every one of you can do it. Right now, the consciousness is either confined to this area of your body or maybe the whole body. But just for a moment, imagine like a clear bubble, like a big beach ball around your body, and just let it very slowly get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until it's as big as this room. And your awareness expands to hold everyone in this room within it. Did anybody's bubble of awareness bump into somebody else's bubble of awareness and say, no, you can't come into my space? No, because it's really just one field of awareness. Now, you may not have known everything about everything within that awareness, but you each felt some kind of energetic shift when you did that. What if instead of spending your time bitching and moaning, you actually started to play within the field of the consciousness, within the field of awareness? What if you started to just imagine what would it be like to not be limited by my five senses? Is it possible for me to experience the whole of the earth at the same time? I mean, these are cool pebbles to start dropping in your pond. And it becomes a very fun and joyful exploration of your being. And it's absolutely safe. None of us violated some divine protocol by expanding our awareness to include the other bodies. They were already included in your conscious awareness. We like to think that we're private and we have private thoughts. That's all bullshit too. We can let that go. So play. What would it feel like? Yeshua and I used to, because I wouldn't even know what to think. So he would drop in thoughts. What would it be like to experience another location? And that experience arose within my awareness. Now, I was free to go, oh, that's bullshit, that's just an imagination. Or I was free to open to that experience and see how rich can that experience be, even though the body doesn't seem to be there. These are fabulously fun things to do, rather than wasting our time in habituated, patterns that we run out that just seem to occupy time.
Imagine then a clear pool of clear, still water, and into it you drop a solitary pebble. And from the pebble there radiates waves. This is what is occurring constantly in the field of your wave of awareness. And as you have attracted to yourself certain persons, places, things, objects, and above all thoughts, beliefs, perceptions, you have dropped them like little pebbles into the still, clear pool of your vast and eternal awareness. And what you experience are the effects or the ripples of those pebbles. They literally join with the other ripples that you've created. And as these ripples move out and touch one another and come back to you, that is the field of creation that makes up your physical, third-dimensional reality. You are therefore never experiencing anything except what you have chosen to create through your selection of the pebbles that you have dropped into the field of your awareness. You literally never experience a solitary thing. You do not experience objects. What you experience is the effect of a thought or a belief in objects. You never experience another person, for they themselves are made up of a whole web of vibrations.
We are absolutely certain we know what other people think sometimes, aren't we? We just insist, I know what they're thinking, or I know what they're gonna think. I was talking to a friend the other day who was writing an email, and they were frightened to send it because they were thinking of what everyone would think about their email. Well, maybe I should say it this way, because they're trying to manage, just listen to the insanity of this. We're trying to preemptively manage what we think someone else may think based on what we send or don't send, but we'll never truly know what they think. That is crazy. It's absolutely nuts, but we do that. How much time do we spend trying to manipulate what we perceive someone else is going to think? And we never know what they're going to think. Because don't we all lie about what we're experiencing and what we think? So even if you think they're thinking something, it could be that they're lying to you and they're actually thinking something else. So this whole crazy game is just nuts.
Amen.
Amen. Let that go. So all we're doing is dropping pebbles in our pond. And it's really popular when we're playing this game that we often invite friends into our lives, family members, spouses, children, and we say, hey, I got this cool big pool of awareness. Will you come throw your pebbles in my pond? And I'll adopt your pebbles as though they're mine. Keep everybody out of your pool. Don't let your parents and siblings or the government or the nightly news drop pebbles into your pond. It's your pond. It's creating your experience. We've become codependent in many ways, and we've thought, oh, I'll share my pool with someone else because it seems like they've got a really great pool. And then you meet them, and like 3 months later, you recognize their pool was a cesspool, just like yours, and now you got a full-blown codependent relationship going on. So you are not obligated to accept anyone's pebbles. You are not obligated to accept society's pebbles. You're not obligated to accept any pebble save the ones that you choose. And you will experience the effects of those ripples. Now, many of us can get quite anxious at this point because we're like, oh shit, I recognize what pebbles I've been throwing, and they weren't very nice pebbles. Because when we thought our thoughts were private, when we thought they didn't have any effect, we could just bitch about the boss all we wanted and nothing would come of it. Ooh, but now we're recognizing this does have an effect. So maybe that's why I lost my job. Not because my boss knew within the field of awareness that all I did was bitch and complain and I hated working there. So it's tempting when we recognize we've thrown a judgment pebble to judge ourselves for having done it. Oh shit. It's like the law of attraction. You start to recognize I'm creating this. Once you've thrown it, it's gone. Throwing a judgment one is like throwing 10 more after it. Just let it go and pick up the one you want and throw it. Pick up the thought that you truly want to entertain and give it your full attention. Because that's the only way you can change the vibrational pattern of your pool. So every thought that you think is a pebble that you're throwing in that pond. When Jeshua said in the Gospel of Thomas, turn within, at first you're going to be deeply disturbed. You're going to look in your pockets and see there was nothing but judgment pebbles in your pockets. You can be pretty disturbed. I've been doing this to myself, and it can be pretty disturbing. But then, he says in the Gospel of Thomas, you'll be amazed. Because then you'll begin to wake up to the power that I have the power of conscious choice of what pebbles I'm throwing. I don't have to be unconscious about it. I don't have to accept everybody else's pebbles. So I can create very different experience for myself. Wow. So you start to be amazed because you can shift your experience. You can start throwing pebbles of forgiveness instead of judgment. Pretty amazing. And then he says you'll go on to rule over the universe. Because you will grow into the fullness of the infinite field of consciousness, awareness, and you will totally rule over your universe. And I don't mean a body, I mean the pool of consciousness. It's up to us. And I don't know about you guys, if you're a Course in Miracles, that thing is loaded with great pebbles to throw in your pond. Like all kind of 365-day lessons. Why do you think he gave us 365? And he told us to repeat it all day long. He's saying, dude, you want to wake up, I'm going to set you up with a whole bucket full of I can see differently pebbles and let you throw them, as many as you want. And we create our own experience from that. It's very empowering to Christ. It's very disempowering to the victimhood ego. This is sexy stuff. I mean, this is not what I got in guilt-laden religion when I was young. I mean, can you imagine as a child knowing this, knowing it, and being taught this rather than, hey, you're my child, here's the pebbles that our family believes in, please throw them in your pond frequently. And if you look at our educational system, it's really about, please believe what I believe, and we'll give you shiny pebbles. We'll reward you for adopting the pebbles that are deemed to be the right pebbles. Wake up to that. And make the pool of your awareness, your consciousness, sovereign. And if someone else offers you a pebble, no thank you. I mean, do you let people come in and put dog shit in your house? That's what we do when we let other people's ideas into our mind and start to believe them. Or we then start throwing pebbles about how crazy their ideas are. Why bother? Just throw the pebbles that you want to experience. And this isn't about cheesy mantras. Let me be very clear about it. It's not about just saying a bunch of words. To say the words means nothing, but to mean them, to believe them. Oops. Sorry, I'm out of juice. Okay, we're back. And I just told this really funny joke about people watching spirituality on the internet. No, sorry, we just had dead batteries. So we're back. I think we'll move on to the next one.
You could say that each person and each object, to use your language, is really a field of relationships themselves, unique and seemingly different from you, but a web of relationships nonetheless. For what child can be separated from their parents, from their cultural background, from the unique experiences that they have had as they have interacted with the webs of relationship that have been around them since the moment of their conception? What kitten can be separated and singled out from the matrix of its mother and father? What leaf on a tree is separate from the temperature of the air, the quality of water and nutrients that come to it from the very soil of the earth? Everything is a web of relationship, and all webs are in relationship with all other webs, and they become grander and grander and grander on ad infinitum. You are then a web of relationships, out of which you have selected certain pebbles, whether they be thoughts or perceptions or experiences, and you have dropped them into the clear, still pool of your awareness in order to create even more ripples. And then you have chosen which ones will have the greatest value for you. These you lock into your being, and they become your emotional field. The emotional field is the first level of crystallization of the body.
So ripples are our experience. That's all we do in the field of our awareness is create experience. I mean, if we're not creating experience throughout all of eternity, well then what would we be doing? So all we are creators of experience out of infinite possibilities. And none are deemed better than other ones. They're simply infinite possibilities, all with equal weight. And we are all simply choosing from the infinite menu of creation, what is it I would like to have? What is it I would like to experience? And I hear the question, why, all the time. Why would we choose this? Why would I choose this? Blah, blah, blah. Because you can. Why not? You're infinite, and you're trying to experience what you are in your infiniteness. And by the way, that even includes the dream of separation. So you're expanding your infinite being by playing with every potential energy in creation. It's the coolest thing. It's a shame that somehow we got in our mind that this was a bad thing. It's rather the expression of our freedom. The dream of separation is the proof that God will let us do anything. And that we never lose God's presence, we never lose the field of awareness, and we never lose our ability to choose. And you know what? Hitler, Saddam Hussein, all the ones that we want to say are the bad ones, their field of awareness was just like Yeshua's, just like yours, just like mine. They just chose to create differently. If they were awake to it, they probably wouldn't make the choices they make. We're now waking up to it, so drop the pebbles that you want to drop. And own the experiences that you've created in your life. They were the effect of your pebbles, or you letting other people play in your pond, throw pebbles in your pond. Own them as self-created. They're not bad. You don't have to create that way anymore, but holding on to them is just saving some of those pebbles like for reserve, so that you can like have nostalgia guilt. So all we are webs of relationship. And by the way, has anybody noticed how the truth that we're a web of relationships is being reflected in the world? Who's on Facebook? You can see web after web after web of relationship, and how those relationships interact, and how we have relationships with similar interests. Consciousness is becoming so self-aware, it's reflecting itself all over what seems to be daily life. And just as you choose who's going to be your friend on Facebook and who's not, what groups you, unless you're just one of those blanket, I don't want to say no because I don't want them to unfriend me. Come on, But so you're only like the things that you like. Now you're going to wake up beyond like and good and bad, but at least at this stage of pebble dropping and Facebook, doing, you have that capacity within your being. Will you stand in your sovereignty and say, you know what, I don't want to play with that energy. I don't have any interest there. I want to play in energies that remind me of my limitlessness. I want to hang out with people who are also playing with their unlimitedness. I don't want to hang out with victims. I don't need to go to another guilt support group. I don't need to do another 12-step or whatever that may be. And I'm not saying those are bad things. They're okay energies. But if you've had it, if you're not ready to, if you don't want to play with them, you don't have to play with them. And that you lock these things into our emotional field. But they're never locked in to the emotional field. You are free to unlock the emotional field and let them go. And many of you have already experienced this. You've already had stuff come up in your awareness that before used to create a big emotional reaction. And now it comes up in your awareness and the emotional reaction's not there. And you go, wow, check that out. I didn't flip out like I used to. I didn't get really angry. I didn't get really mad. Well, that's the effect of you throwing some new pebbles that said, I want to see this differently. I don't want to be mad at my parents anymore. I don't want to be in conflict with my spouse. I want to love myself. So those changes that you're all experiencing are the effect that you're already throwing new pebbles. But what if you did that consciously with every thought? What if you did that consciously with every word you spoke to another being? What if you gave up people-pleasing and simply was responsible for your creations and your pool of awareness? We people-please like crazy, which is really disingenuous. What that really is a secret agreement. I don't want you to see my pond, and I'm going to act like I'm not looking at your pond. So we'll just be fake here together and move off. Meanwhile, you've been throwing pebbles of fakeness in your pond. You're sovereign. Be responsible for your consciousness, your field of awareness.
From the emotional field, a further crystallization creates the appearance of a physical form, and it is that which you push around the planet in your very temporary, third-dimensional form of attention, while all around you, and just beneath the level of your conscious daily awareness, you remain in communication with all webs of relationship throughout all dimensions of creation. It is for this reason that an inspiring thought can come suddenly to you and penetrate your daily awareness, and you wonder, where did that thought come from? Or suddenly a picture appears in your mind. It could be anything. A man and a woman making love, a man and a man making love, a child playing in the park, a dolphin, a picture of conflict or war. Where did it come from? Because you live in perfect communion, and you are like a grand field of energy in which all webs of relationship are reverberating constantly, you actually have access to the complete entirety of creation. And this entirety is not limited to what's occurring now, as you understand time. You have available to yourself everything of which you would call the past and the future.
My friend Kelly's here. She does Akashic Records. She's accessing this kind of stuff all the time because it is available in the infinite field of awareness. Everyone has access to what we would call past lives. They're not really past. It only seems that way. Everybody has access to them, except that we don't want to because we either have created pebbles that say, I'm fearful to see what was there. But everybody has access to this field of consciousness because it's the nature of what we are. We're free to wake up and explore it more and more and more. But where did this thought come from? How many of you have thought a thought and it's like you shot a bullet train and all of a sudden more and more came? Well, what you've done by dropping that pebble is you've accessed everybody else in creation that's dropping similar vibrational pebbles, and you've like logged on to that page out in consciousness. So all of a sudden you start to get bombarded with it. Well, you can just as easily log on to the Incarnating Christ page as the My Parents Did Me Wrong page, or My Salvation Lies in Another Man or Another Woman page, or I'm Never Going to Get Spirituality page. All that's happening within your being. And how do you know what you're logged on to? What's your experience in that moment? If you don't like what you're experiencing, change your mind. It's just like the internet. If you don't want to see it, close it. Choose what it is you want. The internet's another beautiful symbol for this infinite field of awareness. All the intelligence is out there. Any one of us who are curious about, atomic weapons, you could pull it up on the internet. You're curious about some person who seemed to live in the past, bam, there's all kinds of information about them. Because that's just another symbol where we're becoming aware that this is the truth of it. We're still playing with this idea that it's not organic to consciousness. We still need a technology interface. Apple's going to be in tough shape when we recognize we don't need a technology interface, that we can simply access it within our own being. So all he's trying to do here is drop pebbles in your pond to get you to recognize I'm infinitely more than I might think I am. What if I started being open to I wonder what my infiniteness is? You don't have to figure it out. You just have to drop pebbles that say I'm open to it. I'm open to revelation of what the nature of creation is, what the nature of myself is. But your day-to-day, moment-to-moment experience is telling you what you're doing or what you have been doing. And you're free to change it at any moment. You don't need anybody's permission to change your mind about what you're thinking. Don't need anybody's permission.
These things are available to you at all times, and there is not one of you who has not experienced this for yourself. Perhaps you suddenly thought of a friend, and then the telephone rang, and you knew it was them. It makes no sense in your causal third-dimensional plane, but because underneath, even though your conscious mind was busy making breakfast and wondering about which stocks to buy and sell or which perfume to put on the body, underneath you remain in perfect communion. It is why when there is a deep resonance between friends, separated by thousands of miles, all of a sudden you know they need you to call them. You feel a sense of concern. Maybe they just stubbed their toe, but you pick up the vibration. You all live this. You all know this. There's no secret about it. What I would seek then to attract your attention to is this.
The first time I experienced this, I had two cousins who were twins. They were younger than me, and we were at camp. and one of the twins was off on an obstacle course and fell and broke his arm. The other twin sits straight up and runs right to the brother, not knowing it, but just inherently knew something had happened. Whoosh! Freaked me out. This is the truth of what creation is, but secretly we have a fear that, oh my gosh, I don't want everybody to know what's in my consciousness. We're embarrassed, we're shamed, we're fearful. So that limits us coming into the conscious awareness that there's way more to experience because we fear being fully known. Everybody playing this game has filled their consciousness with crap. Nobody cares on the level of soul. Nobody's looking to know what you did 20 years ago. They don't care about that at all. There's only love and joy and joining around the fact that we're all creating and we're all free. So many people, when they begin to become more sensitive to this, if they're rooted in their egoic consciousness, what they begin to pick up on are the fears and the day-to-day consciousness of others. I would invite you, and I've shared this with Rosie, and it was a very powerful thing because when I started to open up, because I had fears of being known, I started to experience the fears of other people being known, and it wasn't such a cool experience. I didn't really want to go out in public because it kind of felt bombarded energetically. And Jeshua dropped this pebble in my pond, and he said, I wonder if you chose to feel the joy and love of each of those beings as God sees them. I wonder if your experience would change. And it didn't take long, and I began to experience the soul, if you will, the truth of every one of those beings. And it is incredibly joyful. And it's available to join with them on the level of truth, not on the level of shared deception. And that's where healing takes place. That's where you truly join in the truth, not of our guilt and our separation, but of our oneness. So again, we'll do this as a little exercise right now. So just, again, close your eyes and imagine your bubble, your beach ball, clear beach ball, and just let it expand to the size of the room. And just ask, I want to feel the joy and the love that is the very nature of every being in this room. There's a very deep peace there. So next time you're in the checkout aisle and the person's not even conscious enough to make eye contact with you, you're free to make soul contact with them. I bet you they'll look right up and look you right in the eye. Because all you're doing is honoring the truth about them and the truth about you. And there's not a soul that will reject that request to join in love. Now, each of you felt something. You might have a concept that means you would think you're going to feel and experience something else. As you move out to explore awareness, you got to drop all your concepts about what your experience will be like, because those are only going to limit it. Be innocent, like a child, curious, and begin exploring. And each of you had your experience just now within. And we didn't need any fancy technology. We didn't need probes on our mind with a cord running to someone else. You just experienced it. How much fun can you have doing this? It's a really fun way to wake up. Wow, did we drop some cool pebbles in tonight? We even threw in some experience to go with those pebbles. So next week we'll continue our deepening of lesson number 8, dropping more pebbles into the field of awareness. Thank you, Stephen. It won't be next week because Rosie and I are going to Maui to a Way of Mastery group. So it will be I actually left myself a note. We will be back here on Tuesday the 22nd to continue this deepening. Well, I'd appreciate some help with my schedule, Cindy. What? Oh, yes, sorry, I have it. I'm back on Tuesday the 28th. So we'll be back here. What? Does anybody have, okay, I'll just have to check. Oh. Who's on first? Christ on second. I don't know, seems to be right now.
The 15th, next week's 22nd, we get 29th.
Thank you. So Tuesday the 29th, we will reconvene in this room and pick up right where we left off. So there will not be an event next Tuesday, this Friday the 18th, or that's right, or the 25th. Just check the stinking website. If you show up and I'm not here, guess what? I'm out of town. Does anybody have any questions or comments tonight? Make this fun. Make it fun. It doesn't have to be hard and it doesn't have to take long. Okay, looks like no questions or comments, Gordon. If anybody would like to have come sit, I've been doing this channeled listening thing. I did 2 today, and wow! Oh, it's so cool to see people connect with their own inner truth. It's just really a powerful thing. But I'm joyful to do that Skype, in person, on the phone, whatever. If anyone would like to have One Who Wakes and myself and someone come do a retreat in your area, we just got notice we're going to be in New Hampshire in April. And we still have the Wisconsin one on the back burner that got canceled in September. But we'd love to have you have work together, play together, pebble drop together, whatever. Love offering. Jeshua came and gave me only what I was, only what He is. And when He asked me to do this work, He said, please go and do as I gave to you. And He gave me everything freely. So I extend the deepening of this lesson to you just as freely. If you're moved, if you're not moved, either way, please consider making a donation and put it in the basket. If you're watching online, you can go to onewhowakes.org. In the upper right-hand corner is a little give button. You can click that and give, whether you watch it now or later or whenever. There was great joy with Jeshua sharing with us tonight. He comes when I do this work. A whole host of beings come. Your guides are here. This pebble's been dropped. Will you say to your guides, yes, I would like more of this energy. I would like more help. Because you know what? If you ask, Jeshua will help you drop really profound pebbles in your pond. And that is loving ourselves. Thank you, Rosie Maria. We love you with an absolutely infinite love and a perfect peace. And no matter what pebbles you've thrown, you still have a crystal clear pond. You cannot damage your awareness. You cannot change what God created. What if you just played with that consciously? We love you with an infinite love and a perfect peace. And I'd love hugs on the way out if anybody's willing. Peace and good night.